Welcome to All Eyes on Cleveland. This is another edition of Browns Free Agency Files. Our subject tonight would be one Kevin Johnson, a guy brought in to play slot cornerback for the Browns. Let's dive into some of the article that I wrote up over at the BrownsWire.com, USA Today Sports Media Group. And then we'll take a look at his market, his production, and his value, and some potential replacements. And we'll take a look at what you, the fans, thought in a recent poll I put out as far as whether Kevin Johnson should be retained by the Browns. Let's go ahead and dive into some of this material here that we have. So, if you're watching the show or listening, please subscribe. Facebook and YouTube. You can subscribe at the bottom of the page. And, of course, if you're listening on the podcast, go ahead and subscribe at whatever podcast outlet you are listening to the show on. So this was an article I wrote up just a few days ago. Over at USA Today Sports Media Group's The Browns Wire, where I write. But Kevin Johnson was signed to a one-year deal with the Browns worth $3.5 million. They were hoping to get the 2019 version of Kevin Johnson brought in to fill the nickelback slot corner position for the Browns. He missed most of the truncated training camp due to a lacerated liver, but was able to get on the field by week 3. Now, Johnson this year, unfortunately, was occasionally forced to play outside corner, which he's not really suited to do, mainly because Greedy Williams was absent for the entire year, and the consistent shuffling of players on and off of the COVID-19 reserve list, Denzel Ward getting COVID-19 and getting dinged up here and there, put on the list, and that forced him at times to play outside when Denzel was not available. So he played 225 snaps out wide and 338 in the slot, according to Pro Football Focus. Those 338 snaps are more what he was brought in to do. Overall, Johnson was very inconsistent. He's a former first-round pick taken 16th overall by the Texans. In his second season, he posted a PFF grade of 81.2, which is his best, year that he had with the Texans in year 2. He followed that up with consecutive seasons, below 50, so 46.1 and a 38.6, which are very poor grades over at Pro Football Focus. He then signed on with the Buffalo Bills in year 5 and showed that he could potentially be better, getting a grade that year of 71.9, flashing a little bit of what they thought they were getting, the Texans at least thought they were getting when they drafted him 16th overall. Unfortunately, the Browns, and that's what the Browns were hoping to get. Unfortunately, they did not get that version of Kevin Johnson. He posted an overall grade of 51.4, and his coverage grade was 52.6. He finished 96th out of 121 eligible cornerbacks per PFF. So, in my opinion, if we take a look here at some of those grades, 2015, 60. 2016, he jumps up to 81.2. 17, he was a 38.6. 2018, he was 46.1. Two very poor grades. Then 2019 with Buffalo, up to 71.9. And then this past year with the Browns, 51.4. Run defense was a 50.1, very low. Coverage, 52.6, very low. Pass rush, 55.5. So not good grades there for him at all. If you look at his contract, he was on a one-year deal worth $3.5 million. Incentives could have got him up to $6 million when he signed on with the Browns, but I believe he was just paid out the full $3.5 million and didn't hit any of those incentives. So that's how that worked out contractually with Kevin Johnson. Now, I am ready to say goodbye to Kevin Johnson. This was very disappointing for me. I thought that he did not fill the role of nickel very well. I thought he was poor in coverage. He wasn't a great tackler. He was not what I expected him to be for the Browns. So I want to, I'm hoping this offseason that the Browns will potentially look to upgrade that position. So let's look at the upgrades that I'm looking at 3 guys. Now, once again, you have to bring the salary cap into play, going down probably about $20 million in that $180 million range in 2021. That's a fluid situation. But there are some nickel cornerbacks on the market who would be an immediate upgrade over him. And this is a position that isn't valued greatly in the NFL or overvalued. So you can get these guys, $3.5 million for Kevin Johnson. I think you could get any of these guys that I'm going to bring up here, between the $4 and $6 million range, which isn't much more to pay. And I think that they would be immediate upgrades over him at that nickel corner position. Just to show you guys that you guys, as fans, disagreed with me in a poll I put out. All Eyes on Cleveland, at All Eyes on Cle is the handle. As a Browns fan, do you want to see the Browns re-sign cornerback Kevin Johnson? 53.8% of you said yes. 46.2% said no. This was in a poll I put out on Twitter. So that's a little interesting. I thought that that surprised me. I thought that the poll would say no, that you didn't want him back, because that's kind of how I feel. Now let's look at the market and potential upgrades. The first guy I'm going to bring up is Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton is a guy that has graded out well and is a very good nickel or slot corner. As this is reading from PFF's analysis here, he epitomizes a do-it-all corner who can cover in both man and zone coverage, play the run, and blitz effectively. Hilton is annually among the top corners in defensive stops, highlighting his willingness to stick his nose in against the run, as well as his proficiency as a blitzer. An overall grade of 62.8 this last year, 56th of 121 cornerbacks. But really, he's a nickel guy. They have been projected at 3 years, $4 million per year average. I think that is probably about right. I said 4 to 6 for all these guys. So Mike Hilton of the Steelers, I think, is a guy that should be on the radar. Only 26 years old, would be a very good fit and an upgrade over Kevin Johnson. I think this is a position that you want to, if you're the Browns, that you're willing to spend money on the free agency, because you're not paying much more than you paid Kevin Johnson. So you're not talking about a huge price upgrade to get a better player here. You're talking about $1 million or $2 million more to get a major upgrade in that position. And I think that's wisely spent money if you're the Browns. So another guy that I want to bring up is Troy Hill from the Rams. The Rams are in serious cap trouble with the declining number this year. Troy Hill started out as an outside corner. When they acquired Jalen Ramsey, he moved in, and that move into the slot he has excelled there. He played 546 snaps in the slot in 2020, and did an excellent job. He had his grade is near 70 overall. His grades for his 3 years in 2018, 19, and 20 all above average. Good grades. In 19, he was 76.4. In 20, his overall grade was 69.9. The 27th ranked overall cornerback in the league, according to Pro Football Focus. Hill his versatility is key here. So if you asked him to step outside because of an injury, he can cover outside. He's done it. He did it in 2019, had a grade of 76.4. So, you talk about him playing over 1,000 snaps in 2020 at a grade of almost 70 and moving in and out, but really inside, excelling as a slot corner. This guy is a great football player and a guy that would be a huge lift to add to the defense. I would pay almost probably $6 million a year for a guy like this, maybe a 2-year or 3-year deal if you could do it. But this is a guy I would be highly interested in, along with Mike Hilton. The last guy I want to bring up is named Brian Poole of the New York Jets. He's more of your classic slot corner. Size-wise, he's 5'9", very much in the mold of the NFL slot corner. Very solid at the position. When you're talking about his coverage grades, they're through the roof. This is incredible. In the past 2 seasons, where he played almost all of his downs in the slot, he has allowed just 1 touchdown and a passer rating of under 70 when targeted during that stretch. So opposing quarterbacks, when targeting Brian Poole, under 70 passer rating. So, and only given up 1 touchdown. And that's over 2 seasons. That's pretty remarkable. He was the 11th ranked cornerback in out of 121 eligible cornerbacks at PFF. We're talking again in that $4 to $6 million range. But all 3 of these guys here, Brian Poole, who's more of your typical nickel, Troy Hill, more versatile guy, but also can play that slot very effectively, and Mike Hilton, a very good nickel corner who's on the open market, all of which just a little more expensive than what you paid for Kevin Johnson, $4 to $6 million range. But this isn't a position I would look to draft. This is a position I would look to hit on the market because you don't have to pay much more than you did last year. You can do a 1-year or 2-year deal where it's off the books by the time, the Mayfield extension hits or the Chubb extension hits, the Ward extension hits. The money's gone by then, and you can make your team a lot better. In 21 and 22, the way the league is, guys like this, Mike Hilton from the Steelers, Troy Hill from the Rams, and Brian Poole from the Jets are going to be huge difference makers in your pass defense. And to me, this makes a lot of sense of a place to upgrade the position. So that's kind of the breakdown there on Hill, Poole, and Hilton, and really on Kevin Johnson as a whole. As we look at our free agency files here at All Eyes on Cleveland. So we're going through all 17 of them. If you're enjoying the show or the production, hit subscribe below if you're watching the video, and certainly subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. For Mikey on the 1s and 2s, this has been another edition of Brown's Free Agency Files. This is the Kevin Johnson edition. For Mikey on the 1s and 2s, my name is Brad Ward. We are out.